shared screen. Can you see this? All right. Let's see. Sorry, I think I messed something up. Okay, awesome. You guys can see it. I'm so happy to hear. All right. And so again, this is She Who Codes is what the project's called. And over the course of the next 6 days, we are going to be learning from the basics of Python all the way up to data analysis and working on our own little mini data science project. So it's going to be, I'm very excited to teach this. But so kind of our agenda for today is this is going to be roughly an hour-long class. We'll kind of see how long it takes us to get through, but maybe even shorter than that. We'll go through an introduction. I just kind of want to talk a little bit about who I am, what I've done, what is Python, why you should learn it, a little bit about the basics, the structures that we have to set up in place to get started, and then we'll start with a challenge at the end too that will kind of kick off our coding experience. So a little bit about me. My name is Sarah. I'm a freshman at Purdue University where I'm studying data science with a concentration on the environmental side, so like sustainability and that type of green energy. I've been coding for about 5 years, so I have experience in Python, Java, R, Julia, and a little bit of HTML. This experiences that I've had were all because I learned Python in the beginning. And so I've kind of worked in the past now with teaching and educating on other coding languages. And so that's been with Girls Who Code, Code Arena, which is a African-based coding experience, virtual teaching experience. I've also done research at University of Michigan and worked with Ford Motor Company. And outside of STEM related things, I really love animals, and I also love to draw and hike also. But so then we'll jump right into it. So what is Python? Python is at first an object-oriented language. So in coding, there are two different types of languages, functional programming and object-oriented programming. And both these like categories of languages are useful. Object-oriented programming is usually easier because it focuses more on the logic of objects and methods versus procedures and functionality of things. It's a little difficult to understand even for me, but overall, all you need to know is it's easier to learn, and it's a great first step for any other language you want to learn. It was actually created in 1991 by Mario van Rossum, and so it's been a groundbreaking language since then and one of the most popular to code in. It actually got its name Python from when he was like researching and coding the language. He was also reading Monty Python scripts, which is a English comedy, satirical comedy type thing, and it's called Monty Python. And so he was so inspired by it that he named his computer language Python. It's also used for many applications. That's not really a what is Python, but it's really important to understand that there's a lot of diversity in how it's used. And because of that, a lot of companies use it. And so just to kind of kick it off, what companies do you guys think use Python? Maybe you've worked with it in a company before, you know, in an internship or a project, but do you have any ideas of how many companies, which companies use Python? And you can type that in the chat if you'd like. I'm gonna try, there's the chat, I can see it now. Yeah, what companies use Python, Jacob? So if you have any ideas of some that use it, that's great. You can share. And if not, that's fine. You know, it's kind of a more lesser known language sometimes. All right, so let's look. So NASA, PayPal, IBM, Instagram, Facebook, Netflix, Reddit, Spotify, Uber are all popular companies that use them. Google also does, so does Lyft and other companies like that. And the reason so many companies use it is because it's used in a lot of different ways. It can be used for data analysis, which is what we'll be focusing on, website development, system administration, so like, you know, keeping tabs on everything, web parsing and scraping, so that's going to a website, pulling images or information, machine learning, so that's AI, that's what I love to do. I actually have a shirt on that says got ML. So that's artificial intelligence, predicting things, looking at sentient machines and feelings and that type of stuff. And then software testing, so making sure things actually run. And then why learn Python? So Python can be learned for a variety of different reasons. The biggest one that we see is career opportunities. So whether it's remote or in person, there are over 250,000 job openings in the United States right now alone in regards to computer programming. That allows for a work-life balance. You get to choose whatever company you work for, as most do use Python or other coding languages. And it's obviously something I'm pursuing, so I might be a little biased in saying it's a great career to go into. But even if you're not here for career opportunities, creativity is very important in programming. It's often seen as a left-sided brain language, but in reality, it's very artistic. So throughout this course, you'll realize you're building things, you are creating methods and procedures and pathways, and you ultimately will be even building your entire own algorithm. So it's very creative. There's a lot of artisticness that goes into it in how you complete these different tasks. And it's a freedom of expression. And so that's why I love it. I love to draw and paint. And to me, Python's just like that. And then again, even if you're not a creative person, personal growth is very important and something that you definitely get out of Python. You work in things like problem solving, communication, and teamwork. And then you also get the chance to learn other languages based on this. So Python's a really good stepping stone because in and of itself, it's a very powerful language, but a lot of other languages are built around it and are very similar in the way they work. So if you learn Python, you'll be able to learn Java, HTML, R, any other type of language with a lot more ease than before. So why do you want to learn Python? In the beginning, I started because honestly, I just was looking for another experience out there. I didn't really know what I was going to get out of it, but I ended up really enjoying the experience and went on to learn R. And I did work in that for a while, and now that's kind of what I want to do as my career. If you have a reason why you want to learn Python, you can share it in the chat too. You don't have to, just feel free. If you're just here just because you have nothing else to do and it's Corona time, so you have a lot of free time, that's just as valid as any other reason. And so we'll go ahead and get started. So these are a couple vocabulary words that are really important to know before we go into the actual programming. The first one is your terminal or text file. And this is the place that you house your code and run your programs. And so this is kind of like the home. The text file is where you'll actually be typing in, and then the terminal is what pulls it, your code, and like runs it. This will make more sense when we get into it. So if you don't understand any of these words, feel free to ask for clarification, or you can just wait and you'll kind of understand as we go too. So then you have the code, which is obviously what you're typing in. It's like its own language, so you type based on syntax. So syntax is the rules. That is, so if you code something incorrectly or don't follow certain grammar error lessons, for example, you'll get an error. It's called a syntax error. And it pretty much means that you didn't follow the grammar. So like it'd be like if you're speaking in English, forgetting a comma where you needed one, or forgetting to put a capital letter in the beginning. So it's just like English in that type of manner of, you know, or any language really, in terms of having a certain form and expression that you're supposed to follow. Then we have variables. And so variables, again, this will make more sense as we go into it, but it is an object that you've created in your code that equals or stores another type of value. So you might say X equals 25, and then anytime that you type X into your program after that, it will equal 25, and it will just place 25 where the X is. So then a type of value that can go into your variable is strings. And so strings are very important, which is why I added them here, because they aren't numbers. They aren't like 25. They're actually categorized as like words and impermutable expressions, which pretty much means it's not going to try to slice it in half. It won't add it to another value or variable. And that's pretty much the best way to explain it, is like a word. You're not going to add the word pizza and fish together as you would 2 and 4. So you always note when you have a string by quotation marks surrounding the item. And that will make more sense when I show you in the code, which we'll get to in like a couple minutes actually. We're very close to that. And the last kind of word to understand is functions. And it's very ambiguous. It pretty much just means an operator that does something. So your function might print out a response. Your function might turn all your text red in your program. And so we'll learn how to build our own functions and how to use pre-made ones that are included with Python. All right, so now we're gonna jump into getting ready to code and building our coding environment. So at this point, we're gonna be using Jupyter Notebook. Normally when you're coding, you actually don't need to use something like Jupyter Notebook, and you can actually code in your terminal. However, it can be difficult to use, and the barrier of entry to learning how to use it is pretty tough. And so Jupyter Notebook is actually one of the most used sources by data scientists because it's so easy to use, and it's widely known for just being smooth and easy to run too. It's also something you can put on your resume, something you know how to use. So that's also a good added bonus. But so I'm gonna help you learn how to download it. I actually deleted my own Jupyter Notebook, so we can do this together. So I'm going to go here, and I'm already at the Anaconda website. But if you aren't here, you can go ahead and type in anaconda.com in your browser and click go. And so once you reach here, you'll see this site. It's a lot of information about why I use Jupyter Notebook, because it is a website to try to sell it to you. You can see here all the companies that use them, ExxonMobil and like Cisco. And then once you reach this website, you want to go to the top menu and hover over products. Now, when you hover over products, there are a lot of different options. We want to click the individual edition. So by clicking the individual edition, it's going to allow you to download just a personal and free version of the Anaconda. Anaconda is not Jupyter Notebook, but it is how we access it. So now you're going to go down and you see the download button. You want to click that. And then I'm just going to wait a moment here to make sure everyone's gotten to this step. This is where your Anaconda installers are, so you can access them. And I'd really like if everyone could just type that they've reached this point before we go into the process of downloading. So I'll wait for your responses here. So, because I just really want to make sure that we're all on the same page. All right, I see quite a few people have already said that they have reached it, which is awesome. All right, so I think that's pretty much everyone. So we're gonna move on forward with downloading. It's pretty straightforward. I myself have a Mac, so I'm going to go through the process of downloading on a Mac. So I'm gonna click the 64-bit graphical installer. I really would like you to download Python 3.7. It's the newest version, and so it helps if we're all downloading the same version. And whenever you have the option, especially for Macs, you want to download the graphical installer. This means that you don't have to code to get it to download or go through any process of coding in the terminal. Instead, this is going to show up like if you're downloading Spotify from your computer or such. So I'm going to go ahead and click it. This little pop-up, you can ignore that. Again, that's their way to try to get you to do more things on their website. And my thing's downloading right here, if you see. So if you want, this is actually a great moment if you want to grab a glass of water or take a moment to, just get up and stretch, because once we just have to wait for this to download and then, go through the process of actually installing it. So if you want to, you can go ahead and step away while that downloads, or you can just sit here, and I'll actually move back to this page. So, but yeah, so far, once we download Jupyter Notebook, we're going to kind of test it out, play with it, see how it works, and then review kind of what we've already learned in regards to Jupyter Notebook, play with it, and then hopefully start a new challenge, because it looks like we're actually going really good in terms of time, actually a little faster, so this is good. I really love Jupyter Notebook. I've been using it for about 2 years now, and it's by far better than just trying to code Python. So it's really good that we're taking the time to download this and learn how to use it, because it's a tool you'll use in the future too. So mine's just finished downloading, and I'm gonna go ahead and go through the process of installing it. You're just following the prompts on your screen, and I'll let you guys see it too. If it opens. Let's see, sorry, I'm not sure what happened. I lost it. Well, this is why it's good that we are moving ahead of time, because I myself am having difficulty finding my Finder. 1 second. Oh, here it is. So now I'm going to just go through the prompts of downloading. And you can just click through all this and agree. All right. And then again, mine's downloading. If you've been able to start downloading your price list, also let me know in the chat when you're finished, because it's always good to be able to check in. Oh, lovely. All right. So good to check in too, because it said mine failed, but it looks like my Anaconda's here. Yep. So I have Anaconda already downloaded now, and it's initialized. So as soon as you guys get yours initialized, let me know so that I can move on forward, because it's really important that you have Anaconda working and up. You should have a screen that looks like this once it's up. Okay. So yeah, the downloading process can be a little slow. So if you want to wait, you can. But just once you have reached this point, that's great. Yours is still installing, that's okay too. Again, sometimes it's a little slower. So take your own time with it. There's not much you can do about it. Making sure mine. I'm gonna actually pause my screen for a second and see for a second what that does. Okay. And again, just let me know if any of you guys get yours downloaded. Okay. All right, I see that Jacob does have it downloaded. That's great. And we'll just wait for everyone else. Okay, awesome. We just have another person, Stephanie, which is great. Again, it can be a little slow. I think my first time it was like 10 minutes it took. Granted, I did have a lot of files on my computer at that time. So sometimes it just depends. Right. All right, so it looks like we're waiting on just about maybe a couple other people. So I think just one. Awesome. And then we'll go ahead and move on forward with how this works. Okay. Also, thank you everyone who was able to make the move and shift to Zoom versus YouTube Live. We had some unexpected difficulties with YouTube Live that caused us to have to move it to Zoom, which is kind of funny because Zoom was what we were originally thinking about doing. So, all right, no worries, Hannah. And then after yours is almost done, we'll go ahead and move on because it's pretty cool and it's exciting to kind of use. Much easier. Yep. 1 second. And again, this is the longest time we'll be waiting the entire time. I promise you, the first lesson ever in Python, no matter where you take it from, is always almost the hardest because it just takes so much time to make sure everything works. Awesome, thank you for installed. Let's see, so. All right, so we'll just wait till Hannah's almost finishes up, which hers says is almost done. So that's awesome. I'm glad mine's working. I had to re-download it earlier because it also, I like double downloaded and then it doesn't work if you already have it. So it took me a while to figure that out. All right. So we're gonna give it 2 more minutes because it's 1:23. We're actually, again, doing great on time. So probably end early today. You do not need to make an Anaconda account. So I'll show you mine. They will try to get you to make one. You don't have to make anything, I promise you. So yeah, this is what mine looks like. You can sign into an Anaconda cloud, which means I believe you can do it from any computer anywhere, but we don't need one. You don't have to create one, and it's not going to really help you with anything throughout this process. So that's just what it looks like right now. All right, I'm going to put this to the side so I can just make sure I see once if anyone has any questions. All right, awesome. So we're all installed. So you should see a page that looks like this. It has, you know, your Anaconda, it has, well, everything, and Jupyter Notebook. So you want to click this launch button for Jupyter Notebook. It's the second option in your navigator, not Jupyter Lab. The second one here with the 6.03. And so once you click that, some weird things are going to happen, and you don't want to touch your computer. What it's doing here, actually, I'll take you back and show you. This is, at least on a MacBook Pro, a terminal. And on your terminal, this is normally where you would actually code in Python and pull your text files. So it has to launch Jupyter Notebook from there, but it does it all for you, so you don't have to try to do it. So instead, it opens me up to here. I just want to make sure that everyone gets to this browser point. So if you've reached this browser with the Jupyter Notebook, go ahead and let me know in the chat. And all right, you reached the browser. I don't know how to move my chat over to my screen share, but we'll keep it here. All right, so it looks like we've had at least, yep, awesome. I just wanted to make sure. So this is what your file repository is gonna look like. You'll see all these files that are from your computer, probably. And then I have some here that are actually Jupyter Notebooks that I've created in the past. So we're gonna go ahead though and open a new file. So up at the top right corner, you'll see this button new. You'll wanna go ahead and click it, and you're gonna then scroll down to Python 3 and click that one. So once you click it, it opens you up to a new notebook. So this is our Python environment. This is where we're going to be coding. And you can even go now from what we've learned today and go learn more on your own and practice it in here. So I'm going to go ahead, it's called Untitled 1. If you click the text, you can change the name of your notebook. So I'm going to call this one Python Day 1 Practice. And just to make sure that everything's up and running, we're going to code a quick little line of code to make sure all is well. So I'm going to have you type print, all lowercase, and then start a parentheses. And then in that parentheses, I want you to do quotation marks. And then in that, write hello world. So once you have that code written, the print, comma, not comma, sorry, parentheses, hello world, you're going to go up to this button that looks like a play button that says run. And you're going to run that code. But I'm going to quickly move over, and I want you, once you run that, to let me know what happened. What happened when you typed run after writing print hello world? Because I want to make sure that it all works. Yeah, it said hello world. Okay, if it says hello world, that means that your code is up and running and working well. And so that's kind of the goal. So we can move on to more complicated things. Because if your notebook doesn't work, then we have bigger problems. But so you've typed hello world and it's printed hello world. So what you just ran is a string. This hello world in quotations is the string. And print is the function. And so if I typed print hello, comma, my name is Sarah, with all that, it's going to print that. So whatever I put in these quotation marks in this string, print is going to, well, print. So we actually moved a little faster without going through our presentation. So now we're going to kind of come back to some words and work through that. And again, the first one is variables and values. So variables and values are what they are, and then variables is what you assign a value to. So we have data types of strings and integers. Strings, which we just talked about, is any type of characters that's made up like a password or a word. It's something you can't really change. Whereas integers is only numerical values from negative affinity to affinity. And you write those without those quotations we included before. So for instance, if you, let's go back. If I wanted to just print 9, I would just type 9 in my little, what's it called? Print function. And so it's going to print 9 versus a word. Now, if I tried to print hello, my name is Sarah, without those quotation marks, it's going to try to read it as code or as a number. So the is actually part of a function in Python. And we'll learn more about is later. But so it's going to be confused here. And when I run it, I get invalid syntax. So that's just something to know, whereas I don't get invalid syntax with the 9. So we also now have something called lists. So lists is a compiled group of variables and data types, such as integers and strings. And you make a list by adding the brackets. So I'm going to show you. We can take this code right here at the bottom of my screen, and we're going to make that list: apples, bananas, and chicken. I just copied and pasted it, so it's list. I'm actually going to change it to my list is equal to the brackets of apples, bananas, and chicken. However, this code here is not going to work because these strings don't have quotations around it. So I'm going to add quotations. Ooh, not in the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to run it. And it doesn't print anything, right? Because now it just exists. So in this code, it's like a little bubble. And now you just put my list inside that bubble. It can pull it out at any time using functions like print, but it just exists in there. It's not going to come out in a pop-up until I do this. And now we see apples, bananas, and chicken. So if you want to go ahead, we're going to kind of learn a little more about these lists and then play with it on our own. So this list has 3 things: apples, bananas, and chicken. And you can make your own list too with as many different values as you want. But for me, I have my 3 foods. And for the first one, they each, and second and third, they each have a position. And this placeholder value is also called the index. So for instance, apples here has an index place of 0. Bananas here has an index place of 1, and chicken has 3. And if you were to add mangoes and cherries and whatever, it would be 4, 5, 6 going on. But it always starts at 0. So if I wanted to just pick out the first index value in my list, I would just call the index of 0. That's going to give me my first value. Now, just like we talked about lists, we can assign variables value. So I want to say, let's say my fruit is equal. So this is a variable now, and I want to make it the value of the first item in the list. And then I'll say print my fruit. I've just made now a variable. I added another thing into our bubble or cloud or whatever you want to call it. And it's just apples, and its name caller is my fruit. So if you understand so far, why don't we make our own list of our favorite foods? So why don't you choose 3 foods and make a list out of them, and then print the results and share it in the chat. I'm gonna do French fries, and I'm gonna do, I actually really like pears. And I'm also going to do apples. So that's my list of favorite foods, and I'm gonna print it. And then I'm going to share, which you guys already see, my results. I'm gonna copy and paste it into the chat for you guys. And if you feel so inclined, it'd be great if you guys could share yours, what's in your chat, or well, what you made appear in your list, just to make sure everyone understands. And if you have any questions so far, feel free to shout them out in the chat. Mangoes, potatoes, oh, that's a good one. I should just put potatoes. I really do like anything with potatoes. Ramen, that's a great one. Oh my gosh, I love ramen. All right. It's cool though, being able to make lists, and we'll build on those lists and learn about things called arrays and obviously data sets, data frames, but lists is kind of the first stepping stone to all those cool things. Anything fried, that is a good option. All right, so let's see. Okay, so if anyone's got it so far, I think that's almost everyone. I think. Yep, awesome. Sushi, so good. Oh my gosh, I love a spicy crab roll. But so we'll go ahead, and now that you guys understand lists, we're going to, we actually kind of did it already. We had a little project, so list continued. We'll talk about that in a second. But so we already kind of completed this, but we'll start with functions now. So functions are a set lines in code that will help you compute and design and return the, whatever output you want. So when we use print, it prints whatever you put in. We're gonna learn about a couple more. And these are methods and functions. Ooh, I don't know why I highlighted everything. For lists. So you can screenshot this now. I will also email this and upload it at the end of this when I send you guys like a little follow-up email. but this is all the different methods that you can use on lists. So we can practice these, like this one, append, we'll quickly do, is interesting. So let's say I take my list favorite foods. We all have 3 items right now, but using the append function, I'm gonna actually, because it's so a good suggestion, I'm gonna add sushi. So whenever you want to call a function in regards to a list, you're gonna type the list, then a dot, and then whatever function you want to call. So in this case, append, which will add sushi to the back of my list. So now if I print my list, fave food, I should have named it something more original. Oh, look at that. So I spelled that wrong, so I got a syntax error. The name fave food is not defined because my list up here, my original list, has an S at the end. So always make sure you don't typo. It happens a lot actually, and you learn a lot about your typing skills through coding. But so now if I run that, you get sushi on the end too. So now my list has another item. You can remove items just as easily. So you can clear, which takes away everything, copy, which returns the copy, count, gives you the numbers, extend, index, which will tell you what the placeholder is, insert, pop, remove, reverse, and sort. And so again, we actually did really well today. I was expecting this to take a little longer than it ended up being. And so you just completed making lists, making variables, indexing lists, pulling and calling values, and using functions, which is a lot for a first lesson. So I, first of all, want to thank you all again. This is the first time we've done this virtually. So we're excited again to get feedback either through our email, or in the first email I sent you, there was a survey where you could provide kind of critiques, responses, or feedbacks. That would be greatly appreciated for future classes or even tomorrow's class, so that I can make this more fun and more engaging for all of you. Again, you can email me at any time. If you're working on other projects and you want help, you feel free to, again, email me. I will also quickly take you back to that list slide to make sure that you can get the chance to screenshot it if you didn't before. It's a really helpful resource. And again, when I email you later today, I'll also include an optional challenge that you can do before tomorrow's class to help you kind of review what you've done so far and also prepare for what we'll be learning. You don't have to do it at all. Don't feel like you need to. It's not homework, but it's just something there if you'd like to kind of explore this topic further. So yeah, again, thank you so much. If you have any questions before we leave, now is a great time to ask them. So, and if not, let me know so I can go ahead and, you know, make sure that we end on a good note. But yeah, so you, again, I can also, for some of you, I will be sending the presentation out too. So if you just want to look over what we've already learned and what was in the presentation, I'm more than happy to provide that too. And so yeah, look out for another email, and this will include kind of just whatever you need to know. All right, so it doesn't look like we have any questions. So again, I'm going to thank you so much for joining us for this first class. Again, your comments will be really helpful, and I'm excited to see you guys tomorrow. Thank you again, Stephanie, for coming. I was really excited to do this with you guys. And tomorrow again will be 1 o'clock. I'm trying to think what else. We did have a couple people who were supposed to be a part who are now just going to do it self-paced, because so we're going to have a little less. We originally had 25 people, and now it's closer to 10. But so we'll be providing that again. We'll record it, and I might even upload the videos to YouTube so you can see them from there. But so again, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right.